And welcome back to another complete review of fasting. Today, we're not talking about 33 hours. We're not talking about 56 hours. We've already talked about the transition zone, and we've already talked about adaptation. We've covered that. And today is the master class, fasting 101, if you will. How to fast, how to fast well, how to get fasting on purpose every single time. Think of this like building a house. Every fast has three phases. The setup, it is the steadiness or the consistency, and then it is how do we end. And if you understand these, you can fast successfully whether your goal is weight loss, blood sugar control, inflammation reduction, mental clarity, discipline, routine, or any other metabolic thing. So today, we're walking through the entire fasting arc from the beginning to the end. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. If you're new to me, welcome to the channel. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. You don't need superhuman strength. You need a strategy you can trust, a plan you can follow, and you need support and determination to keep showing up every single time. I want to help you to have the success in your health like you're having in all the other areas of your life, so you can show up for those things that are so important, your family, your friends, for those dreams that you've been pouring into. We want you to be healthy and want you to be around for a long time. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments, because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music, and let you know that we are excited, we are happy that you are here. Whatever platform you're joining us from, whatever city, town, state, village, and of course, whatever country you're joining us from, I am so excited that you are here to join us as we move through the fasting space. What an amazing time we're having as we've walked through this week. Got some good stuff we're going to be taking a look at. I've got my monitors. Let's see. A special shout out to our Accelerator members who are joining us. Thank you for coming through and hanging out. Always excited when you are here in this space with us. And so what I want to do is, number one, we want to go ahead and we want to do a check-in. And whenever I do a check-in, there are a few things that I want to talk about, and that is how I am doing. And there are three areas: physically, mentally, and emotionally. Physically, mentally, and emotionally. And if I were to put different words to that, I would be talking about my body, my mood, and then, of course, talking about my my energy and my emotions. So let's hop over. We're going to do that right now. Let's see. Let's do it this way. So physically, mentally, and emotionally. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, what's going on in my body. And this is an important one because this week, right? So we did our show last night, 56 hours. And then I started feeling a bit queasy, started feeling as though my stomach was upset. And so physically, I'm doing okay this morning, but that was an interesting experience. But in terms of energy, and that's what most people talk about when we talk about energy, about physical, about how they're doing in terms of their energy, feeling like there's a dip in energy, or feeling as though they're walking through quicksand. I'm not feeling that this morning, although I didn't rest as well as I wanted to, and as well as I needed to. But physically this morning, feeling energetic. And then mentally, feeling clear. I'm not feeling foggy-headed, not feeling lightheaded, not feeling dizzy. So those are all good things. Often people will talk about this in the context of hydration. Okay, so if we don't do a good job hydrating, then that changes into some physical symptoms, which can ultimately affect the thought process. And then in terms of my emotions, lots of things going on over the last several days, lots of things happening today, lots of things happening this weekend. And so a bit, I don't want to say, I'm going to say fluctuating. Let me say that, fluctuating. Started out the week well, did well all yesterday. Like I said, not lots of things, lots of moving parts. And so whenever that happens, you can have some fluctuation in your emotions. But for the most part, if I had to put a number, and over the course of the week, we've been putting numbers to how we're feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. If I had to get this on a scale of 1 to 10 of where I am, I'd probably put it at an 8, right? Which is actually pretty good. So 1 would be, oh my God, everything is not great. And 10, nirvana. I'll put it at an 8 this week, okay? Or today. Over the course of the week, it has changed. And that's the important thing to know, that over the course of time, you can have fluctuations in any of these as you move through the fast. Okay? All right. And then let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at my numbers on my CGMs. Before we get there, though, you heard me say that I felt a little I felt a little queasy. And so right at about 1:30 this morning, I actually broke my fast at 56 plus 6, 60, probably 65 hours into this week's fast, just to kind of get that dealt with. And you'll see that as we move through the numbers. So I wanted to let you know that as we get ready to look at those numbers, and you'll see that here in just a little while. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to hop over to my monitor, and here is my Libre. And you'll see right there, right now, my Libre says that my blood sugar is 103. And if I take my finger and run it along the graph here, you'll see right, we started out right below 100, and that's the red part of the graph that you see. And then right at about 1 o'clock was when I broke the fast, and you'll see that kind of popped up into the low 100s, 120s, and right here this morning, that's when we had our toothpaste effect. And look at how much higher that was compared to what it normally is when I am in a full fast, right? So that's the toothpaste effect right there. And then, boom, coming back down over the course of the next couple of hours to where we are right now in the low 100s, okay? I love this because I can actually change the different reports. And two of the reports I like, of course, this one right here. This is my time in range. And you'll see I'm in range 82% of the time, 17% low, and then 1% very low. And that very low is below 54. If I look at the 90-day, you'll see I'm in target 80 or in range 85% of the time, with 14% low and 1% very low. Getting out of that graph and looking at this one, this is my average. And so for the last 7 days, you see this line right here, my average is 88. And jumping over to the 90-day. And the reason I go to the 90-day is because that's where our A1C comes from. It's an average over 90 days. So 89 for 90 days. And down here, you'll see it breaks it out into the different times of the day so that I can make decisions about what to do over the course of the day based on what my blood sugar is. So I love looking at that particular graph. And then let's go ahead and let's take a look at what's been going on with my, this is my Dexcom. Once again, that's 3 hours. And let's go ahead and let's do the 12 hours because that's where we were talking about on the Libre just a little while ago. So right in here, we started out in the low 70s, 80s, 80s, 80s. And so right at about 1 o'clock this morning was when I broke the fast. Right in here, and you saw those numbers started climbing to the low 100s. And then right down here this morning, that's the toothpaste effect. And once again, look at how high that spiked as a result of me not being in the fast right there, okay? And so went up and then came back down into where we are right now. So low 130s. And then going up here and looking at my my report, this is my summary report, and you'll see there for the last 14 days, average of 113 with a glucose management indicator of 6.0. time in range, 98%. And because we're always interested in the 90-day average, representing our A1C, average of 114 with a glucose management indicator of 6.0 and in target 98% of the time. All right, so that's what's been going on with those numbers. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at what my monitors are saying. And so here is my Contour and my Keto Mojo. And let's get into our container here. And I'll grab a strip for the Contour. I'll need a brown and a blue. Look at that, I grabbed one of each. For the Keto Mojo, and then of course here is my Lancet. All right, let's go ahead. I'm going to open this up and put that in there. And so one of the questions that people ask me is, what is the best monitor? And say, hey, are those the ones you use? Are those the best? I use these because these, well, this one, when I decided I was going to start fasting, I went out and started researching, and this was the one I liked based on the data that I found out there. And then there were a lot of other people using this one as well, so I got this. This one we researched years ago, and we've been using this in our office, and so it didn't make sense to use something different. So because I'm using it in office, I also use it here on the show. All right, so that's how those came about. All right, so we're going to open this up, get a strip into the Keto Mojo, open the strip for ketones, and then just find a Lancet like I normally do. We're going to open that up, find a finger right here, and that's the one we've been using. Ow, ow, ow. Let's make sure we get a good drop, not a brisk drop, but that should be enough for at least a couple of tests. First, let's get the Keto Mojo going. And then we've got to milk that just a little bit more to get the Contour. And you see the Contour, the Keto Mojo says that I am 122. The Contour says 125. Dexcom says 143. And let me go ahead and do this because this was a small drop, so I don't want it to dry. So let's go ahead and get the ketones started, and then we'll come back and talk about the numbers. All right. So what do you think my ketones are going to be, by the way? Let's see if that's enough. Come on, come on, come on, please. Okay. Barely enough. We'll see what that shows. And I'm going to leave both of those on the screen for you. So this, of course, is the blood sugar, and then the Keto Mojo says that I'm low, right? Which would be expected from the numbers that you're seeing right now. So let's go back and let's talk about this for a second. So 125, the Dexcom was in the 140s, which is what you see right there, and the Libre was 104. So right now, they're all about 20 points off from each other in terms of blood sugar. And then, of course, here are the ketones. And so ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and above that considered therapeutic ketosis. So whenever we are in fasting mimicking, we're in ketogenic diet, we're in fasting with the idea of working on metabolism, what we're looking for those numbers to be 0.5 or higher. Okay? All right. And so there are people who actually live in that range. We've got community members who they fast, but they also eat a ketogenic diet so that they're always, for the most part, shouldn't say always, for the most part, they are in ketosis much of the time. As you know, I do my fasting, but I don't do a ketogenic diet. So when I end my fast, I try to prolong the metabolic milieu, if you will, as long as possible. And so, we will tend to have ketones maybe 6 to 12 hours later, and then we go back to eating a balanced bites meal, which is not ketogenic at all. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to play our Move campaign. We're going to go ahead and play the move campaign, and then we're going to get into our discussion for today. So let's go ahead and let's do that. Let's do that right now. Welcome to Move, metabolic optimization via exercise. This isn't just about workouts. It's about moving your body, moving your habits, and moving your life forward. Each episode builds consistency, strength, and resilience step by step. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and together we're writing the story of health, transformation, and limitless living. This is Move. Let's get started. All right, so fasting, fasting. Now, most people struggle with fasting for a couple of reasons, and most of the struggle that happens with fasting is not having a clear understanding of the fasting process. Okay, and so as we've moved through fasting, we've talked about the motivation that brings that gets you into fasting, and so many things happen in our lives. We have an event, and an event could be anything. It could be someone becoming ill. It could be us having some significant health issue, or it could be simply us going to a conference or learning something new, or deciding that, hey, I've been at this for a while and I just need to I need to buckle down. And those are usually the places where the motivation for fasting comes from. Okay? And so people come into fast, and if they are not careful, if we are not careful, I should say if we are not careful, what ends up happening is we don't have a clear path into fasting, and so we end up not having success, and so we give up on fasting. And so people will try fasting several times. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of what fasting is, how fasting can be successful, and what fasting does for you. Okay? So this is the idea. And as we walk through our episode today, that's what I want you to be thinking about. How do you make sure that you understand what's going on in the fast? And how do you make sure that you understand what it is you're supposed to get and what's the best way to use the tool? And so once again, as you and me say, we're not talking about the 33 hour, we're not talking about 56 hour, we're not talking about 16 hours. This really is how to fast well on purpose every single time. You know, this is your master class on fasting. And we are going to walk through 3 different areas of fasting: the setup, the steady portion, that's the in-between, and then how to break the fast. Because if you understand that, then regardless of what your ultimate health goal is, it will be successful. So we'll walk through that entire arc from the beginning to the end as we talk through fasting, okay? And so we are at 72 hours, and you know, we're using this as a vehicle, not necessarily because we're talking about 72 hours, but because we're talking about the fasting. And whenever you're fasting, whenever you are going into the space, I want you to have as your as a barometer that you want to always be able to do a feelings check-in. We won't spend a lot of time right now talking about that, but just to put that in mind, it is going to be the way for you to understand how you are feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. And then you also, as you're going through fasting, you want to make sure that you're looking at numbers. And that's why I love the monitors that we use, because they give us objective data. The feelings one we talked about a minute ago, that is the subjective data. How am I feeling? What's my emotions like? What do I think my thought processes are like? But this gives me objective data. I can look at the number on the graph. I can look at the number on the monitor. I can look at the number if you're doing ketones by doing urine. I can look at the urine dipstick, and I can see what's going on in my body, and that gives me a objective marker of what's happening. Okay? But the blueprint system, how to fast well. Right? On purpose, every single time. That's the whole idea that we're walking through. And fasting, as we talked about, has 3 phases. The first one, of course, is the setup. And the setup is what happens. And I'm going to say most fasting doesn't really start at time 0. So sometimes we say, okay, what happens in the first 24 hours? And we tend to think that the first 24 hours, of course, is the time we start fasting and then the rest. But it actually happens before that. Fasting preparation determines fasting success. And most of the struggles that we have during the fast most of the struggles we have with fasting doesn't happen during the fast. It actually happens before. They happen in the setup phase, long before hunger ever shows up. And so we want to talk about how do we prepare, how do we get through, how do we move through that space, okay? So we want to prepare by preparing, number 1, we want to prepare our last meal. So we're coming into the fast. This is time 0, right? So 0 to 24 hours. This is time 0, but we are starting the fast by preparing. Prior to that, we're preparing our last meal. We're thinking about the fast not as hey, it's starting there, but hey, it's just a continuum, and I am getting ready for that continuum out here. I'm preparing, I'm looking at the food that I'm going to eat as my last meal before I get into the fast. It actually starts with that final meal. And a good fasting meal, right, is tailored to help you stay satiated during the initial hours of fasting, to help you move into ketosis as smoothly and as quickly as possible, and to not set your body up so that you don't get the benefits of fasting. So a good meal, a good last meal, is tied to our concept of not a diet and not a list of foods, but the concept of proteins, healthy fats, non-starchy vegetables, limiting the carbs, no added sugar. And we've kind of talked through some of that before, so that your body is able to manage the sugar and the processed foods that come into it without any delay. Because if we don't do a good job of that last meal, then it delays the progress into the metabolic space that we want. Because your body is primed to get there, right? If you've been doing this, your body is well ready to get into that metabolic flexibility. It actually has become metabolically flexible, and it's ready to get in there. But if we don't do a good job, we end up short-circuiting and not getting as much benefit as we expect. Okay? So a bad last meal makes the first 12 hours not that good. So if you're having big spikes in blood sugar, if you are having spikes in your insulin level, then when you get into the fast, your cravings are going to be such that they're going to make it difficult for you as you move through the fast. And people say, well, I felt hungry. I felt hungrier than I normally would. Well, if we have a lot of sugar in the body, if we have a lot of insulin, then those cravings are going to be intense. So once again, we want to prioritize protein. We want to prioritize healthy fats. We want to prioritize non-starchy vegetables. We want to limit the carbs. And we don't want to have any added sugar in that last meal. And you'll get to see here the meal that I've prepared for breaking the fast, and we'll walk through that here in just a little while. Okay. Number 2, we want to hydrate. We want to hydrate before the fast. And in all the things that I do when I talk about fasting, one of the principal things that we want to make sure we do is making sure that we're getting hydrated. Now, this is for several reasons, but two of the major ones. Number one, if you get into the fast, or when you get into the fast, because you're not thinking about eating, often we also don't think about drinking. Those two go hand in hand. And we wait until we feel thirsty, and by that time, we're already behind the 8 ball, as it were. So number one, you're already going to be in a space where you're not thinking about drinking. And during the fast, your volume is actually going to go down, which is expected because of what I just mentioned. The second reason for hydrating is that your body has to use blood circulating through your body for all the mechanisms, all the transformations, all the adjustments that are going on in hormones, in electrolytes, in enzymes. All of that is traveling through the blood. And so if your volume is down, then the body has a difficult time doing what it needs to do to keep you healthy. Remember, as it's going through fasting, you're breaking down or you're doing autophagy, for example, and you are recycling, cleaning up different parts of the body, and the waste that's there has to go somewhere, and it travels through the blood. So if you're not hydrated, you're actually inhibiting the efficient use of the autophagy. The other thing is, when your body has to use the volume, if your volume goes down, then your body has to make everything move faster. And so people feel that palpitations, heart racing, and so forth. Okay? So you want to make sure that you're hydrated. Number three, you want to have a structure that will keep you going through the fast. You don't want to rely on the motivation that started the process. The motivation is great. I'm glad that you got it. I'm glad that it came, and I'm glad that it gave you the spark. But what is the structure you're putting in place to keep it going over the long haul? Because guess what? That motivation that you got, as strong as it is, as important as it is going to wane. It's going to begin going down. And what we want is when the motivation goes down, when the motivation goes away, we still want to be in the process of being healthy. So putting a structure together, good bedtime, making sure that you're getting good rest, making sure that your environment is conducive for fasting, making sure that you have some ways, some pre-fast affirmations, right? That I am healthy. I am doing something for my health. I am working to be healthy so I can be here for my family, for my friends, for my grandchildren. I am, right? So some affirmations, some things that you can say, some things that you can see that will prompt you to remember what you're doing and why you're doing it. Plan for stress. Stress is going to come. You can't predict it. Often we say, well, I'm going to get rid of the stress. Sometimes you can't get rid of the stress. There are certain stresses that you can, deal with. But a lot of times it is what it is. Plan for cravings. What are you going to do when you start to feel those cravings? What is the plan? And there's several things that we talked about as we talked about fasting. What is going to be the plan? What have you put in place? What is your plan for the moment when you want to quit? And those are coming for whatever reason, okay? Some stressful events going on, whether you are being prompted or being triggered by cues that are going. What is it that you are seeing? And how do you deal with that? These are not emotional failures. They are structural issues. So structure prevents sabotage before it starts. Okay? You also want to know your hunger waves. When does hunger come? When do you feel hunger? Right? When it usually comes in 20 to 30 minute ebbs and flows. So know your hunger cues. If you can ride the wave, it will pass. Hunger is not an emergency. It's a signal from your body, right, that there are changes that are going on. So once again, we're talking about phase one, which is the setup. We're talking about setup right now. We're still in that phase. So the other thing is to explore the mind shift window. At about 10 to 16 hours and during the fast, that's where most people start to talking themselves out of fasting. And that's normal. That is a normal process that you will go through. Your body is switching gears. The brain is renegotiating. There are hormonal changes that are going on that may prompt those ideas. That's not weakness. It's a transition. And if you understand that this is what's happening, then you're more likely to be able to make your way through those thought processes when they come. Okay? So that is the setup. That's the setup. How do we make sure that we are coming into the fast with the appropriate structure, appropriate thought process, appropriate physical preparation to get us through the fast? The next is our steady phase. And this is the phase where structure replaces the struggle. We've already talked about motivation coming. We've already talked about the fact that you're going to have these fluctuations in thought processes, in energy, in hormones. What is the thing now that takes us through when the motivation goes away? It is the structure that we have. And so between 24, 60 hours, fasting becomes a practice. Right? We can white knuckle it maybe the first 6 hours, 12 hours, 18 hours, 20 hours, 24 hours. Oh, boy, I made it. Made it through. We don't want to just make it through. We want to have a structure that takes us through successfully. And this is not a test of willpower. It's not a punishment. It is a skill that we can learn. This phase is not 36 hours or 56-hour biology. This is the strategy of the middle hours. How to stay steady even when your emotions and your environment is shifting. So let's walk through that together. Number one, we talked about hunger waves. You want to surf that wave. Don't fight it. It's going to come. Understand it's going to come. Understand that it's not an emergency. We're not pushing through this by white knuckling it. We're observing it. We're not judging. And the question that we want to ask is this really hunger? Or is something else masquerading as hunger? For example, is it boredom? I can tell you the number of people who say to me, hey, man, I was doing fine. I was up late at night. I was watching TV, didn't have anything to do. And so there was some food in the fridge and there I was. So is it boredom? Is it a habit? Every time you do a particular thing, you snack. You get up, you go to the bathroom, you grab some nuts. You get up and you go to the go down the hall and you grab something to drink. You sit down to watch a movie, you get some popcorn, right? There are the habits that we get into. We see people in our office get up to go to lunch and we're not hungry, but we get up and we go to lunch. Is it emotional discomfort? Too happy, I was going to say too happy, too sad, too angry, too frustrated, whatever it is it an emotional comfort issue? And so we use food often to palliate that. We use food often to buffer that. And so in the fast, when those things come, because we are not eating food, we get those discomforts. Because normally we just pop something in the mouth and that quiets it down for a little while. And of course, pattern and cues, which we just talked about. People getting up and boom, you see that. You have smells in the office. Somebody asked me just this week, hey, does it bother you when we're warming our food up? Sometimes it does. And I have to get up and have to go somewhere else. So most hunger is pattern driven. Most hunger is emotionally driven. It's not physiologic. It's not your body saying to you, hey, we need you to go do this. It is, right? All those things we just talked about. So what do? You want to use walking as a fasting stabilizer. A 10 to 20 minute walk can smooth glucose. It can reduce cortisol, which is the stress hormone. It can calm your hunger, improve clarity, and reset your energy. Remember, move a muscle, change a thought. Movement is not a punishment. Movement is actually a way to help regulate what's going on in your body. And when you do that, you are doing a good job of using a tool to get what you need. The next thing, of course, is hydration with electrolytes, making sure that you're hydrating. Just like hydration is important to get into the fast, it's important as well during the fast itself. And you want to make sure that you are paying attention to this. And this may show up like cravings. Sometimes we confuse hydration with hunger. Also, if we're not doing a good job of our electrolytes, you may have to just put some salt in the water. Get one of the electrolyte packets that has sodium, potassium, maybe some magnesium that are in there. But listen to your body. Sometimes the cravings that we're getting, it's not food craving, it may be a mineral craving. The next, we want to avoid 2 mistakes that break most people's fast. Number 1, overthinking the fast. Meaning that we're projecting that we're not going to be able to do something successfully. And the brain says, hey, if you don't think you can do it, I guess we're not going to be able to do it. And so it will create the situations where what you are believing comes through or comes true. So preparation is great, but we don't want to overthink and talk our way out of the fast. The next mistake is that we wait until the breaking point before we intervene in something that we've noticed in our body. The body will give us signals. Fasting is not a test of your suffering. It's not a test of your power. It's not a test of your strength. It is a practice of stability. So if you are noticing something, like I mentioned to the group that I noticed, I was feeling nauseated. I was feeling burning in my stomach, indigestion, and so I ended up breaking the fast at 60 plus hours because I was listening to my body. So don't wait until the breaking point, because then what happens is your brain, your mind remembers that, and so the next time you want to fast, your body's like, the last time we did that, it didn't go so well. So intervene before it becomes a problem. Protect your emotional window. Around that 36 to 48 hour emotional intensity will come in. Emotions can get stronger. This doesn't mean the fast is failing. It means that you are becoming aware. Because normally, what do? We pop some food. But now, because we're not doing that, we become very much aware of how we're feeling. And now we have to confront that. I like to say we're living life without the net. We're living life in the raw. And awareness is part of your restructuring. And then we want to watch for the wall. The wall is not a physical wall. It's a mental friction plus cortisol spike. Right? So the wall it's what's going on up here, which causes a spike in our cortisol. And those two will set up a system where we feel like this is not working. Oh, let me get out of this. Right? It creates a sense of urgency or us feeling unsafe. And remember, what the body's looking for is looking to feel safe so that cortisol goes down. When that happens, then there's calm. So one of the solutions to this whole process, this idea of the wall, is hydration, making sure you're having good minerals in there, electrolytes, making sure you're having good rest, some light walking, move a muscle, change a thought. Maybe you do some breath work. right? Box breathing. Breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, breathe out for 4, hold it for 4. Do that 3 to 4 times. And then reconnecting with your why. Reconnecting with your why. That is a very important one. Because the why, right, that rhythm, the why, what are we doing? Why are we doing? The anchor, right? Different words you've heard me say to understand the why. It is the thing that keeps you stable when things around you are moving. Think about that ship that's on sea, right? They drop the anchor so that the anchor keeps them where they are. Structure diffuses the wall, because when you're structured, you don't have to rethink it. It's already in place. And then I want you to think of calm as the new control. You're not chasing energy. You're not chasing willpower. You are steadying your energy. Your brain is using ketones. Your system is predictable. Your emotions are leveling. This is the moment where fasting stops being an effort and starts becoming design. Yeah. So that's the middle. That's how we get successful. That's how we move through fasting successfully. And then how do we break it? This is the breaking phase. Refeeding completes the metabolic loop. The end of the fast is just as important as the beginning. Breaking the fast well is what keeps next week's fast successful. If we do a great job here, if we do a good job here, then our body, our mind, our thoughts are prepared for next week. But if we do a poor job here, then in our head, well, that didn't work so well last time, or I didn't get the benefit, or I had whatever that list is that you'll come up with. So let's walk through that together. Your first bite after the fast determines what is going to happen for the next several hours, even several days. The first bite. One bite of high glycemic food can spike the insulin and shut down the metabolic work that your body just did. And turn that process backwards. So your first bite should be something that's gentle, slow, clean, protein, I don't want to say heavy, but prioritizing protein, prioritizing healthy fats. Now notice that those words, those are some of the same words I use when I talk about the last meal prior to starting fasting. And that's on purpose, because the way that we eat to start the fast, to end the fast, or even when we are in our eating window is exactly the same. If we process it that way, then we don't have to worry about what to eat at any particular time. See, that's one of the cheat codes right there. So gentle, because your GI tract is quiescent. When you're fasting, then the GI tract kind of slows down. The protective cells that usually produce a protective coat, they're silent. They're not producing as much. So if all of a sudden you come and you start dumping things in, as tasty as it is, then those cells have to wake up quickly and they start to produce that protective coat, and that could lead to bloating, it could lead to abdominal pain, it could lead to increased elimination, right? All those side effects that we don't want. You want to eat slowly. It takes about 20 minutes for the signal to get from your stomach to your brain that you are full. And if you eat quickly, you've already eaten 2 to 3 times as much before the signal gets to the brain. Then you're like, oh. Okay. We want to make sure that we're prioritizing, of course, protein, lean protein, healthy fats, prioritizing non-starchy vegetables, minimize processing, no added sugar, portion controlled, tasty and flavorful. All right, so let me give you a protocol Here it is. And that's it right there, by the way. So light protein, light lean protein, non-starchy vegetables, healthy fats. You want to, if you're adding carbs, they should be complex carbs. They should be portion controlled. And what you want to do is the first meal that you're going to have is going to be based on what we just said. And then 2 to 3 hours after that meal, you'll have your larger meal. So that's the protocol. Now, I don't usually give people lists of foods to eat or foods not to eat, but I'm going to give you a list, right? Foods to avoid in the first 12 to 24 hours. And I want you to notice something about the list. And I'll make a comment here in a minute. So number 1, bread. So we're talking about what to avoid, right? So bread, pasta, pastries, rice, fruit juices, sodas, alcohol, heavy, highly sugary foods, sugar. Now, 2 things. 1, this is not an exhaustive list. It doesn't have everything on there that you need to avoid. So don't think, well, hey, it's not on the list, so I can have it. So the list is designed to help you identify something. Notice that everything I just mentioned, bread, pasta, pastries, rice, fruit juices, soda, all of those are high carb foods. And so if you eat those, what happens is the blood sugar goes up, insulin spikes, and then of course, once insulin comes out, then we go down that rabbit hole. So how does digestion reset after a long fast? Well, your gut needs gentle onboarding. The first 6 to 12 hours are about rebuilding the digestive fire. And we talked about those protective cells that wake up and then they produce the coating, right? So let's give it the time it needs. And so in breaking the fast, we want to avoid the reward trap. The reward trap. Feeling proud. Oh man, God, I made it through. This is great. So let me go reward myself, and I'm going to reward myself with some baked goods, some sugary foods, right? And so what happens is we go through that process, sugar spikes, insulin comes out. Once again, we talked about the effects of having a lot of insulin on board. That's the metabolic cliff. Remember, structure is greater than reward. Follow the structure, right? The protocol we just gave. Wait 2 to 3 hours, then you have your big meal. The big meal should still follow our food thought process. And then you can still have some of the carbs, right? Some of those things that you like. But don't let those be the first thing. When we talk about our protocol, one of the things that I didn't mention is whole foods, right? And when we talk about whole foods, we say whole foods first. Not only whole foods, but whole foods first. And this is the idea here. The protocol first. Follow the structure first. Once you get through the structure, you've done the initial meal. You've waited the 2 to 3 hours. You've had the larger meal. Now, right, because you are not all of a sudden shocking the system by those high carbs, now you can say, hey, Kim, now let me have some of that stuff. And then you want to plan for your next fast before you break this fast. Right? Talking about how do we get through the fast? Or how do we break the fast? Right? So breaking the fast, refeeding, it completes that process. But before we get to the next fast, we want to plan, before we break this fast, we want to get to the next fast. That will help us to keep the process going. It will set us up because we anticipate the next fast, and now we're thinking about fasting, even as we're breaking the fast for this week. So let's talk a little bit about the inner design loop. Remember, the inner design loop is our mechanism for being able to monitor what's going on in our body and to make iterative or on-the-spot changes. So every Friday as we go through this, we're doing some time of reflection, looking at this inner design loop. What worked this week? Number one, our anchor. What was it that helped us through this process? We're going to write that down because that thing that worked, that's going to be important for us as we move into fasts in the future. So anchor. Number two, align. Where did my rhythm feel steady? What was going on? What was the thing I was doing? What were the choices I was making that helped my rhythm feel steady? Because that we want to keep. Right? So we're creating a structure, we're building a structure, and we want all the stuff from this fast that are working, that's what we're going to change. That's what we're going to keep. And then we adapt. What will you tweak? Right? So number one, what worked this week? What felt steady? And then what will I tweak for next week to support the structure that I currently have? So we're always taking the positive and saying, okay, what can I adjust? So small adjustments create predictable success. Small adjustments create predictable success. We're not talking about making big, giant changes. So the fasting system. So today we didn't just talk about the science. We studied a system. A thing that you do is great, but a system that involves that is even more powerful. When you prepare for the fast, when you manage the fast, and you break the fast on purpose, fasting becomes predictable, predictability becomes safety, safety becomes consistency, and consistency becomes transformation. So structure turns that discipline into design, and design turns fasting into freedom. Yeah, that's the idea. So once again, we're not looking to do something just today or tomorrow or the next day. We're looking to do something that's going to last us for a long time because we want to be healthy. We want to keep showing up. And if we're going to keep showing up, we need something that's going to be on point. Yeah? So you've completed another week of deciding that you are going to do what you need to do to be healthy. You've learned the fasting system. You've seen your numbers stabilize. You've built trust with your metabolism, and your metabolism is learning to trust you back. That's an important point. Because when we feel safe, when the body feels safe, the body has incredible resilience and capacity for healing. So we want to give it everything it needs so that we set it up for that healing process. That is fasting. And so what we're doing, right? The Limitless Living says we're designing the life. We're building the health. And when we do that, then we are able to live limitless. We continue fasting. We continue the process. We continue the push to be healthy. We continue making those choices on a weekly and a daily basis. And if we make the process simple, then it is not a arduous thing. If we continue in the rhythm, the alignment, and the structure. Do you have those things in place that takes motivation out of the picture and allows the system to still work when you don't feel like it? Join us for our next episode, and we will continue doing our fasting, continue making choices to be healthy. Thank you for joining me for this one. We'll see you next time. So one of the reasons that I love fasting is that personally for me, fasting allows me, it is the basis of all the structure that I have for my health. It is the basis for all the structure I have for my health. Because I know when I'm fasting, I've got my fasting window. I know because I'm thinking about fasting, I think about my eating window as well. Because I'm thinking about my eating window, that has implications for my movement. And because it has implications for my movement, I've got to be structured in the process. So lots of things have been going on with me personally over the last several weeks. And the thing that has kept me going, the thing that has kept my health the way I want it, is because the structure is in place. Because raise your hand, come on. You know that when we get out of routine or something happens, it throws the routine off if the routine is not solid. And so because the fasting is a pivotal pillar in my routine, it helps me to regulate all the other components. So in this space, I've asked you to come up with 3 things. 1, movement non-negotiable. What is going to be the movement anchor? I do push-ups. When I can't get out, when my doctor says don't do this, I do some push-ups. Yours may be walking, maybe yoga, maybe rowing, maybe elliptical, whatever it is. What is your 1 non-negotiable for movement? And then, number 2, non-negotiable, is a fuel non-negotiable, meaning food. How do you think about and how you treat your food? What is your non-negotiable? My food non-negotiable is my fasting. So that happens. It's going to happen. It may not look the same as it did here, right? So 60-something hours rather than 72. Maybe your fasting may not look like a 24 this week. Maybe it looks like a 16-8, which is okay. But what's your non-negotiable? Maybe your non-negotiable is balanced bites. I am going to eat this way 1 day, 2 days, 3 days this week. What's your non-negotiable? And then the third non-negotiable is your recovery and restoration. Whether it's mindset, I'm going to do devotions, I'm going to do breath work, I'm going to do yoga, I'm going to do meditation, right? Mental mastery. Or it's going to be rest and recovery. I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to develop a way of dealing with stress. I'm going to get better rest. I'm going to go to bed earlier. And in order to do those, you got to have structure. Remember 3 non-negotiables. If you take the health action plan, you can distill it down to those 3. Plus now you have structure. You have something, a way of sitting down and saying, okay, this is what I'm doing now. If you do that on a consistent basis, you will find that it will give you immense benefits, even when motivation is not there. That's why I love this process. I love the fasting. Everything that we do here is based on our formula. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. That's a triple E formula for success. We educate with the shows, with the podcasts, with the blogs. We empower with the tools that we're using. And we encourage with the community that you're a part of, that you are growing, that you are contributing into. Your story. When I hear your stories, when I listen to you, those stories encourage me, and we get to share that with the community at large. the successes with weight going down, getting off of medicine, being able to get our A1C down, getting our getting off of blood pressure medicine. All of those things are benefits that enrich the community. We also get to come alongside you when you are having those points where things are not quite going the way you expected. We get to say, hey, this is how I did it. Or we just get to listen and allow you the space to be who you are without judgment. And then you also are a voice. You are an ambassador. I'm deputizing you to say to your family, to your friends, to your community, to your doctor's office, to your church, that we can be different. We have the power. We have the ability to make choices that will improve our health. We don't have to accept that this is my diagnosis. We can make choices even now to be different. Whatever's happened in the past, it's happened. We can't change that. But we certainly can make a choice right now going into the future. And we can be different. We're showing up with our best self, our best health, and our best plans. We're not allowing anything from outside or inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do. That's it. We're designing the life design, the Woode life design. Come on, let's do it together. We will continue our week. We've got video from the vault coming up on Saturday, tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central. And then This Week in Review will be here at 6 a.m. on Sunday, right here on the channel. That's Central. And then on Monday, we'll be right back as we move through another week of the Blueprint series on Dwain Woode MD Live. Remember, as we get into the rest of the this month, we've got some changes to our schedule. Our last live show will be on the 22nd of the month, and then our first live show for the new year will be on the 5th. So make sure you keep that in mind. There will be something here on the space. Won't be a live show, but something here for you. So make sure you come out, join us, and celebrate as we move into the rest of this week and into the rest of this month. Thank you for being here. We're going to listen to that MOVE campaign one more time, and then we'll be out of here. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life. Avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. Wait a minute, wait. I forgot something. You guys didn't remind me. Hold on. I didn't show you my meal. Come on, let's do that really quickly. Let's see. And so here is, okay, here's my meal. Let's walk through that together. And so, as you know, and we've been talking through this meal, by the way, today. And so, whole foods, right? So, whole foods. There's some cheese there, and there's some light dressing that's on there, vinaigrette. Whole foods, most everything there is whole foods. We've got no added sugar, right? The only thing there that probably has some sugar is the dressing. Minimize processing. Once again, the dressing and the cheese are processed. Everything else is whole and not processed. Lean protein. So this is this week I went into the freezer and I had a turkey breast that was left. And so I took that joker out and I jerked it. You guys know I love jerk chicken. So I did the jerk turkey. So that's what you see right there. So that's lean protein. Healthy fats, I've got some avocados, and of course the fat from the cheese. Starchy and non-starchy vegetables, so there are no starchy vegetables on this plate. So I've got lettuce, I've got some red onions, I've got some red cabbage, there are some carrots that you see poking out right there. I don't have any tomatoes or anything like that, and no other starchy vegetables. Portion control. This looks like a good portion to me. And then we want it to be tasty and we want it to be flavorful. So this is the salad that I've created as the meal to break the fast. And I've not eaten it yet, but I'm anticipating that this is going to be flavorful. I'm anticipating it's going to be tasty. So let's go ahead and I'm going to dive in real quick. Maybe take a couple of bites. That turkey right there, man. That's good. And then let's get a piece of this avocado. And the reason I like salads, the reason I like salads is that salads give me bulk, keep me fuller longer as I get out of the fast. They blunt the absorption of carbs, so I don't have a big spike in my sugars. They also have minerals, vitamins. They have fluids, right? So I'm getting a healthy meal. And let me talk about that word healthy. Healthy does not mean good for blood sugar. Those are not synonymous. Healthy simply means that overall the meal has good health benefits. So just because somebody says it's healthy for you does not mean it's good for your blood sugar. I just want to make that point. But so it's healthy and it has lots of vitamins, minerals. It has all the components that we just talked about in terms of our meal protocol. So this is the type of meal when you're looking at refeeding and looking at what am I going to eat following my fast or the last meal before my fast, and in fact the meal that I'm going to eat in my eating window. If you follow this, then there's no worry about what I'm going to eat because there's all the same type of thing. And notice there is not a list to eat this and not eat that. It is simply a way of thinking about the food. Okay? All right. Well, I wanted to make sure we did that. Once again, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower. I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. We are here. I am here because I want you to be successful in your health, just like you're successful in the other areas of your life. So you can show up for those important events and occasions in your life, for family, for friends, for community, and so you can live and enjoy those dreams that you've been pouring into. You don't need superhuman strength. What you need is a strategy you can trust. You need a plan you can follow, and you need the determination and the support to keep showing up every single time. Thank you for being here. We'll see you as we move through the rest of the week. Make sure you join us for our shows, and we'll see you back right here for Dwain Woode MD Live on Monday, 7 p.m. Central. Let's look at this MOVE campaign, and then we'll be out. Bye-bye, everybody. Welcome to MOVE, Metabolic Optimization via Exercise. This isn't just about workouts. It's about moving your body, moving your habits, and moving your life forward. Each episode builds consistency, strength, and resilience step by step. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and together we're writing the story of health, transformation, and limitless living. This is MOVE. Let's get started.